Hello, this is Arturelia Gaming Room Reviews. I'm Arturo, and today I'll be reviewing Now, I mentioned in an episode of Arturelia Gaming Room Discussions that this was a childhood game of mine, along with the original Smash and other games. And you know, I liked it when I was young, and then I got it a few years ago and played it again and beat it. You know, I mean, I like it. I like Army Men stuff, toy stuff. And I do have Army Men toys still, but I use that to try to make films. And I still like them in a sense because of that. But this game, I know it didn't get the best ratings, but what would I think of it? If you're into Army Man stuff like this, would it be something you would enjoy, or would you rather get the newer ones for the PS2 and all that instead of the older ones? Well, this is my review for a childhood game that I will now be reviewing for all of you. And remember, this is just my opinion of what I think about it. Let's go. Now, the story is kind of, it doesn't really seem to relate to the ones before this, Sarge's Heroes. But your base is attacked by Plastro's army, and the general and you are the only ones that escape the base. And so now you're finding out the stuff that the Tan Army is up to, getting these technological stuff and weird things from another world. So it's up to you and your squad, actually you have to go save your squad, to stop Plastro's plan and whatever his army is going to do with these things from the other world. But without getting into much detail, that's pretty much all you need to know. Now, the gameplay feels a little stiff, but it's not hard. I mean, you'll get used to it. But yeah, turning him around, Sarge, it's kind of like that. Since I have the Nintendo 64 version, there are differences between each version, because obviously there was a Dreamcast one, a PS1 version, but basically the gameplay is still the same in a sense. Now, this game is fun, but it's very challenging, but you know, some hardcore gamers would like a challenge. This will offer you some challenges. At points, the levels do get hard, though, and I would say you would probably rage. Like, after level 4, it's pretty hard, and onward, you're just faced with a lot of challenges because you'll be dying a lot. Now, what's good about this game, you could get different weapons to use against your enemies, like machine guns, shotguns, rocket launchers, flamethrowers, grenades, mines, mine detectors, and other stuff. One issue I do have is when you're reading the dialogue, they go by fast. You don't really have a whole time to read it. If you're a fast reader, then you'll be able to get the whole thing. I mean, I understand what was going on, but now for the PS1 version, I will say there are, you know, cutscenes, which is good. But since I have not played the PS1 version, and I just got the N64 one because that was one I remember from my childhood. Now, when you're shooting, though, you can shoot your enemies, and it's easy because the gun locks on right away. Now, when you start to walk, it is kind of slow, but then after that, you know, you'll be running, but then you'll have to stop at points, you know, to turn. My remote is kind of broken on the analog stick so I don't know if I would have to consider that because I don't have the ones that move smoothly. I have the one I have to push kind of hard. Mine's kind of broken. What's good about this game is that there's a multiplayer. You could play with your friends and have fun. You could get all the weapons and different characters. The graphics for the time, well, you know, I always thought it was kind of cool to see the plastic shiny type things on their bodies because they're plastic toy soldiers. It's old, but it's not awful. For replay value, you can go back, put in little certain codes in, and you can play levels that you liked and even play as a character in any level you want. So that kind of brings back some replay value there because you could select a character you want to play as. Like, you could play as Vicky, you could play as Plastro, a tan soldier, you know, that sort of stuff. So that makes it awesome, and you could go back and play a level that you loved. Well, I'm kind of conflicted here because this was a childhood game of mine, and I still do like Army Man stuff. Obviously, there was a lot of people had flaws with this game because of poor sounds and just how the gameplay was. But for me, you know, it doesn't matter what version you get, either Dreamcast, PlayStation 1, it doesn't matter because this game was actually fun, but like I mentioned, this is my opinion and my childhood game. I am conflicted with what to rate it though, because I do get frustrated with hard levels, but still though, that's the challenge of it. You want challenge to make a game last longer and keep coming back for more, and at least you could save games on these older type consoles, and you could do on the NES. And Sarge's Heroes kind of reminds me a little bit of like the movie Kelly's Heroes. I wonder if that's where they got it from. But if you have friends, then you could play the multiplayer. If you want to play a level, then you can go back and put the code in. You just got to find the code on the web and play as a character on there. I mean, imagine playing Plastro and you see his men shooting him. And the villain is a really funny character. I mean, obviously, there's no voice acting in this. Either way, I mean, if I were to rate this game, I would say it would get a 7. So it's really it's good. But if you're not really into this type, then don't get it. Because for me, I think it was good. It brings challenge and all that sort of stuff. Now, for recommendations, if you really want to go back to like this alternate type version of the Army Man universe, because even though Plastro's more chunky in this one, you could go play the Army Man 3D one if you want. I actually have that game, but haven't played it as much. And Plastro's kind of thin in there. I don't know what the switch is with this story alternate or version or whatever. I don't know, but there's that. But if you want more Sarge's Heroes, there's also Sarge's Heroes 2. However, though, sadly, the story kind of went downhill when it did this thing with... I forgot what the title of it was, but this is the game right here, and it kind of... the story and all that just went downhill. I would say just go with the original types. There's also the PS2 version of Sarge's Heroes 2 and all that, but if you also want to have another blast with army men like battling out in the air, sky, then you could play Air Attack, which still takes place in the Sarge's Heroes universe, which I also like as well. I do need to get that game at some point, but yeah. And I will mention again, go support my cousin's friend's YouTube channel at Down South Video Game Hunters, because they're still doing this contest and they need enough subscribers. They haven't uploaded much recently, but you know, give them support. They're trying. But yeah, this is Arturelia Gaming Room Reviews signing off.